So I started my year with an amazing 3 week vacation, and 2 of those weeks were spent in beautiful Costa Rica. And it was during these 2 weeks that I discovered or remembered these five powerful ideas that have played such a big role in helping me build the kind of life that I have today, and I know will continue to be important even as I continue to reach for bigger and bigger goals. And I think they'll help you too as well, especially if you feel stuck. So here are those five big ideas. Humans were not built for cages. You won't know until you do it. Too much of any one thing is not good. The greatest fulfillment comes from doing difficult things, and money is both meaningless and incredibly important at the same time. So let's jump into these one by one. Humans were not built for cages. Whether it's working in an office tower or in your bedroom or your living room, the fact is humans were designed to interact with nature and often. I find it interesting that over the last 50 years, our living spaces and houses have gotten bigger, and our lawn spaces and outdoor spaces have gotten a lot smaller. And with the explosion of technology, it's no surprise that we as humans struggle with anxiety and more mental health issues than ever before. While on vacation, I felt the sun. I rolled in the sand. I swam in the ocean. I jumped off a waterfall. Literally, all of these things. And these experiences had such a profound impact on me that when I got back to Canada, which has terrible winters by the way, I tried snowboarding for the first time, even though I hate the cold, simply because I wanted to be outside. Look, I won't pretend to be a scientist or explain why it works or how it works. I just know that being in nature does amazing things for the human mind and the human body. In fact, as a Christian, when I think about the creation narrative in the Bible, where did God place Adam and Eve in the first place? A garden. I don't think it's coincidental that right from the beginning, humans were designed to be in and around God's natural created world, caring for it, interacting with it, stewarding it, and taking good care of it. And look, I realize that not everybody is going to be able to enjoy a Costa Rican adventure like I did, but that's not the point. The question is, right where you are, can you experience nature a little more? Can you take a walk? Can you take a bike ride? Can you take a small train or a quick bus outside of your city just to be more in nature? The point is, something about the natural world is very restorative to both mind and body. Number two, you won't know until you do it. By nature, I am very frugal. I don't like to spend my money even when I have it. I think and scrutinize all of my purchases, probably to a fault. Maybe that's because I grew up broke, but who knows? Anyways, I decided to take this trip with my family because I felt like a burnout was coming, and I'm so glad I did. I was more stressed and more tired than I even realized. And the trip did me even more good than I imagined. My mind is clear today, I am less anxious and more focused. And I'm making better decisions in my business today because of that clarity. Look, during the trip, I found myself thinking, this is so good. I'm enjoying this so much. How can I optimize my life and optimize my business for this kind of freedom? And the result is when I did go back to work, I started making better decisions that would create these kind of opportunities more and more. And so now I am making better decisions for the business, more high leverage decisions that are increasing revenue and also increasing the amount of time that I have available to me. Now, taking this trip with my family was somewhat of a financial risk. Like, it wasn't cheap. And like I said before, I'm pretty frugal. But the point is, I didn't realize how much I needed the rest until I took it. I didn't know until I actually did it. And that's the whole point. This idea extends beyond vacation and rest. As is the case with most risks in life, you won't know until you do the thing. This may be asking the girl out, asking for the promotion, starting a business, taking the trip, whatever it is. You can ideate and speculate and try to calculate all of it beforehand, but ultimately you won't know until you actually do the thing. And so often, things actually turn out much better than you anticipated, or at the very least, not as bad as you imagined. Number three, too much of any one thing is not a good thing. Work is what makes vacations enjoyable. It's the break that you get from tasks and deadlines and assignments and projects that gives that very feeling of relaxation when you do take that vacation. Now, with all that said, what's interesting is that even though we had initially planned to go for about 3 weeks or maybe even longer, at about the 2 week mark, I felt truly satisfied and really started looking forward to my normal space and my normal routine again. Even though I wasn't looking forward to the cold of Canada, I was looking for the peace and the stability that my own space and my own schedule, my routine provides. The beach, drinks, food, adventure, they were all incredibly fun, but at that 2 week mark, they honestly started feeling kind of just blah. I guess at this point, my mind was craving a challenge. You see, work gives rest value, but the opposite is also true. Rest gives work value. Now, I understand that many people don't have the luxury or the privilege of doing what they love for work, which is why many people dread going back to work. And that leads very nicely to the next point. The greatest fulfillment comes from doing difficult things. I strongly advise everyone to do everything within their power to make a living off doing what they love, or at the very least, to avoid soul-crushing work if you can avoid it. But I also know that not everyone is going to be able to make a living off their passion. In fact, I've come to realize that for a lot of people, they don't have like an overwhelming passion for one thing or the other. Most people just want to be able to pay their bills, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, and not be broke. So the way I see it, there are roughly two types of people. People who are driven to a specific thing or a specific set of things that they want to accomplish, and people who are driven by, let's just call them simpler desires. Regardless of what kind of person you are, I think we can all agree that nobody wants to do the kind of work that just saps their joy and vitality year in and year out. And so it is imperative that you and I do everything that we can possibly do within our might and our mind to do work that at minimum doesn't crush our soul. Now, with all that said, remember this, that at the end of the day, all jobs, even dream jobs, are jobs. There are parts to every single job that you will not love. There is no easy path in life. Every route you can choose is littered with thorns, thistles, briars, difficulties, and challenges. And sidebar, any secret path that promises you none of these things exist, typically have the most of them, have the most difficulties, have the most thorns, have the most thistles, have the most briars. And so avoid any so-called secret paths that are promising you an easy life. Doesn't exist. But interestingly, the difficulty of a thing is the very thing that makes doing that thing fulfilling. Does that make sense? The difficulty is the very reason doing the thing feels so fulfilling. Think about it. When do you feel more accomplished? Do you feel more accomplished when you go to the gym on a day where you were motivated and just locked in and just like ready to go? Or do you feel more accomplished on a day where everything about you, from the weather to your ankles to your body, was telling you, don't do this, but yet you dragged yourself to the gym and you still crushed the workout? When do you feel more accomplished? It is the striving and the overcoming that creates the feeling of accomplishment and gives rest its sweetness. So even if you are at a soul-crushing job right now, I want you to do two things. Number one, I want you to begin planning for the kind of life that you actually want to live. No, and I mean, like, don't just wish for it or hope for it. No, actively start working and planning towards that life. I made a video about that. Number two, I want you to change your perspective about your current circumstances. Don't just be broken up about it or depressed about it, or even worse yet, just accept it as it is. No, reframe how you see it. See it as the obstacle that will itself be the source of fulfillment when you finally overcome it. Seeing it this way almost sort of gamifies life itself, where you now start going through life and seeing every stage that you're in as sort of just like the level you need to beat to advance to the next stage. And so you actually learn to look forward to challenges and to just keep going, because you know that this is just a part of the game. And on the other side of this is fulfillment and advancement. And so for me, because I had been working straight for like 2 to 3 years without a break, I felt like I had earned the break. Hard work doesn't feel good in the moment, but it is hitting milestones and accomplishing goals and hitting checkpoints that really validates the work and creates that deep sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. This is probably why after 2 weeks of vacation, the fun started to feel bland, because I was craving something of substance. I was craving a challenge, because the greatest fulfillment comes not from a life of ease, but from a life of doing difficult things and overcoming challenges. Number 5, Money is both meaningless and incredibly important. To state the obvious, without money, I and my family could never enjoy this kind of trip that we did. So I know that much to be true. And so I cannot downplay the freedom and the options that come with having money, even just a little bit of it. Sidebar, you don't need millions of dollars to enjoy God's green earth. You just need to know how to steward and take care of what you've already been blessed with. But that's a topic for another day. And yet, even though I know money is important, one evening on vacation, as I stood in the warm waters of the Pacific Ocean, literally watching the golden sun disappear underneath the horizon, I had a moment of profound clarity, with my feet submerged in the sand underneath the water, and my body swaying with the waves. A sweeping feeling of peace suddenly enveloped me. In that moment, I felt like all of my striving and worrying about the next deal or contract or bag did not matter. What mattered most in that moment was not how much I had or didn't have in my bank account. It was simply being alive and able to enjoy that moment. I thought about how my constant desire for what's next seemed to have dulled my taste and dulled my appreciation for what's now. But in that moment, what's next and all of that other stuff didn't matter. But here's the interesting thing. Like I said, I know that having the money to take this trip gave me the luxury of enjoying this moment where it felt like money didn't matter. Having money made me feel like having money didn't matter. Am I a hypocrite for thinking this? How do I reconcile the two? How do both of these things make sense? I feel like the serenity of that ocean sunset helped reconcile in my mind these two seemingly opposing ideas. And here's what I concluded. I now work to live, not live to work. P.T. Barnum, who the movie The Greatest Showman is based on, said it best when he said, "Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant." As a master, money dominates you, pushing you to sacrifice all good and godly things to its service. You might gain a lot of it, but the cost is heavy. Your joy, your peace, your friends, your family, your morals, even your soul. In the end, if money is your master, and getting lots of it is really the only thing that matters to you, it will ultimately rob you of all of the valuable things in life, which will then make the money itself worthless and meaningless. Which is why Jim Carrey can say something like, "I wish everybody was rich and famous and do everything that they dream so they can all realize it's not the answer." But if money is your servant and you are not dominated by it, then you are in a whole different realm, because now you can deploy it both for your good and for the good of others. It becomes a vehicle that amplifies your enjoyment of all of the good and godly things that you've been blessed with. So whereas money as a master robs you of all of the good and godly things, money as a servant amplifies your enjoyment of all of the good and godly things. Rest is sweeter. Food is sweeter. Time with loved ones is sweeter, because you are not looking to money to play the role of family in your life. You are not looking to money to give you a sense of identity and purpose. You are not looking to money to do the things and fill the gaps in your life that God designed only for others and for Himself to fill. You use money to enjoy and experience these gifts in brand new ways. This is what happens when money is your servant. And so that beautiful Costa Rican sunset reminded me of the simultaneous value and worthlessness of money. And so now I work to live and not the other way around. I hope you remember this as you go about building the kind of life that you want to live. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shope. I'm an Afrofusion recording artist and an entrepreneur. And so I make music and have a couple of businesses that thankfully allow me to create the kind of life that I want to live for myself and my family. And my entire goal with this whole channel is to share everything that I'm learning as I make my way through life, both as a creative and as an entrepreneur. And so if any of this stuff sounds appealing to you, then you know what to do. Like, comment, share with a friend. Also, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. And if you want these kind of insights ahead of anybody else, as well as music ahead of anybody else, then be sure to join my Artist CEO newsletter. The link for that is in the description. Now check out this playlist for some great music and this playlist for some additional great insights. I'll see you next time. Peace.
I'll admit it. Yeah, I get it. You be holding me down for a minute.